Chosen one, listen closely. Something has shifted in the realm of the Spirit, and it concerns you. Tonight, yes. Tonight, your hidden role has been activated. The clock struck this hour, not by accident. Heaven pressed go, and your dormant assignment lit up in the spiritual archives. This is not just another night. This is a divine appointment. You felt the stirring, the restless ache, the sudden pull, because your role, hidden for years, has just come online. You are not here by chance. You are not listening by mistake. You are hearing this because something eternal is moving over your life. This is divine alignment, not algorithmic accident. God orchestrated this moment to wake you up. The assignment you were marked for, hidden even from yourself, has been waiting for this precise moment to activate. The time of delay is over. The time of confusion is done. You are being summoned into position. Heaven has known your name long before you knew his voice. The angels assigned to your path have stood in silence, waiting, watching, holding their breath for this moment. And now, at the appointed time, the scroll of your life is being opened, and the seal on your hidden assignment has been broken. You are not just being called, you are being launched. You may feel unprepared, but God never checks credentials, he checks obedience. He doesn't ask for the qualified, he qualifies the called. You, chosen one, have been called into divine service under heaven's command. And from this moment forward, you will no longer move as you once did. The winds around you will shift. The warfare will intensify. But the power behind you is greater than anything against you. Paul reminds us in Ephesians 2. God raised us up with Christ and seated us with him in the heavenly realms. That's where your authority flows from, not from earth's applause, but from heaven's commissioning. You don't need validation when you've been appointed by the King. And yes, the world will look the same tomorrow, but you will not. Because once your role activates, you no longer operate as a civilian. You are a spiritual agent, a kingdom disruptor, a divine infiltrator. What used to torment you will now fear you. What once intimidated you will now bow to the authority on your life. Your very presence shifts atmospheres. Don't downplay what you carry. Don't dismiss the voice inside you that keeps whispering. There's more. That voice is not fantasy. It's not ego. It's the echo of your destiny trying to break through the static. You've been living below your spiritual inheritance, but tonight, everything changes. You have been chosen to carry out something the world has never seen. You've been activated to be a breaker, a builder, a blueprint carrier. The assignment on your life has been preserved through every attack, every tear you cried, collected, every wound, recorded, every betrayal, permitted. Why? Because the enemy knew something you didn't. He saw what was sealed inside you. There are people who tried to curse you, relationships that tried to collapse you, systems that tried to stop you, not because of who you were, but because of what you carried. Your name echoed in hell's chambers long before you ever prayed your first prayer. And yet, you're still here. Why? Because grace kept you breathing until heaven could release your assignment. Tonight is not symbolic. It's strategic. And you don't need everyone to understand it. What's happening to you is not public, it's prophetic. Your spirit has just been marked for war, for awakening, for breakthrough. This isn't just a motivational moment. This is a military message. You've been enlisted. Angels have been dispatched. Your timeline has been disrupted. The Father is calling forth his chosen ones, and your name was on the list. Let every insecurity bow to this truth. God does not make mistakes. He doesn't assign power without purpose. He doesn't call without preparation. And He doesn't release without reason. You are not just part of the plan, you are essential to it. That thing inside you that has been dormant is about to roar to life. Chosen one, rise. You are no longer hidden. The heavens have spoken. Your assignment is live. Comment 777 if your spirit feels the activation. You've always been watched. Long before you ever heard the name Chosen One, there were eyes locked on you, both in heaven and in hell. Your name has been whispered in realms you've never seen. Your existence was never hidden, not from angels, not from demons. You were marked, not the day you were born, but the moment you were conceived. Heaven placed its signature on you, and all of hell noticed. There is no such thing as a low-profile calling. Even if you tried to blend in, you couldn't. You carry something eternal, something magnetic to the supernatural. This is why your life has felt like a target, why you've gone through warfare without provocation, why you were attacked before you ever stood for anything. Because the enemy saw it. He always sees potential before it manifests. You didn't ask for this, but you were assigned to it. You were marked in realms you couldn't see by forces you didn't know. And still, something inside you kept surviving. You should have lost your mind. You should have walked away. But you didn't. Because your soul remembered what your mind hadn't yet learned. There is more. You were born under surveillance. Even in your most broken states, there was a sacred watch over your soul. Not one breakdown went unnoticed. Not one rejection went unrecorded. Heaven has been documenting your story, not as evidence against you, but as proof of your endurance. The throne doesn't forget survivors, it crowns them. The scars you carry, they're the ink heaven used to verify your authenticity. There's a reason darkness kept checking your progress. Every time you tried to heal, some shadow tried to reopen the wound. Every time you got your hope back, something came to steal it. That's not coincidence. That's spiritual reconnaissance. The kingdom of darkness kept circling you, not because of where you were, but because of where you were headed. Your very breath irritates hell's agenda. Some of your earliest memories are stained with battles you didn't understand at the time. You thought they were just childhood pains, random trials, or human cruelty. But spiritually, you were already on the radar. The enemy always strikes first when he senses anointing. He tries to traumatize destiny before it becomes functional. That pain in your past wasn't punishment. It was a preemptive strike. But here's the miracle. You never stopped being watched by heaven. Even when you cursed the sky, even when you questioned your worth, even when you gave up praying, the Father never took his eyes off you. Not once. He knew the warfare wouldn't kill you, it would forge you. The very eyes that saw you broken also see you rising. The very hands that watched you bleed are now ready to equip you for battle. As we read in Psalm 121, the Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. That is your reality. You were never truly alone. Not in the darkest night. Not in the lowest pit. Heaven was documenting your steps, guiding your path, allowing only what would serve your future strength. You think your delays were detours, but they were divine design. The doors that didn't open were blocked for your protection. The relationships that crumbled were torn down to preserve your mantle. Nothing in your journey was wasted. Every wrong turn taught you something. Every closed door redirected you. Every heartbreak anchored you deeper into discernment. Heaven's eyes on you mean more than protection. They mean accountability. You can no longer pretend you're just one of the crowd. You're not. You've never been. You've always felt the difference. But tonight, that difference has a name. It's not weirdness. It's called being marked, set apart, commissioned. The level of attack over your life is proof of the level of purpose resting on it. Nobody robs empty vaults. Nobody attacks empty houses. The weight of resistance is always equal to the weight of the calling. And you've carried weight for years without understanding why. But now the clarity comes. You are watched because you are dangerous to darkness. When heaven watches, it watches to guide and guard. When hell watches, it watches to sabotage and scare. You've been the subject of both kinds of attention. But now the balance is shifting, because once you know who you are, once your hidden assignment activates, the surveillance no longer intimidates you. It fuels you, because now you understand why it's happening. Don't dismiss the dreams that felt too intense. The moments of pressure that seemed too heavy for your season, that was your hidden role trying to activate. Every time you felt something watching you in the spirit, something probably was. But now, your awareness has caught up with your assignment. What was once spiritual static is now becoming divine instruction. You may not have known what you carried, but others did. That's why some people treated you strangely. That's why you never blended in. That's why even those who loved you didn't always understand you. You carried something they couldn't identify, and it made them uncomfortable. But that discomfort was never your fault. It was their spirit, recognizing something they couldn't label. You've spent years thinking you were too much, too sensitive, too different. But tonight, that lie breaks. You weren't too much. You were just an early activation. Your spirit was tuned into another frequency before your mind could catch up. And now, everything is sinking. This is the hour of unveiling. The gaze of heaven is not just on you, it is within you. You are being seen, not just for who you are, but for who you've always been becoming. You've been watched with purpose. And now, you will move with power. You've always known deep down that you were different. You never fit the mold, never walked the path others seemed content with. Even in rooms full of people, you felt like a question no one had the answer to. But what you didn't realize was this: your difference was never a defect, it was your design. The discomfort wasn't rejection, it was redirection. The misfit feeling wasn't punishment, it was proof. You were not created to blend in. You were created to break through. That quiet ache in your soul, that wasn't loneliness. It was the calling whispering, "There's more." You thought you were lost, when in reality, you were being hidden. And now the curtain is lifting. God was not keeping you from people. He was keeping you from patterns. Patterns that would have dulled your edge. Cycles that would have buried your gift. He wrapped you in isolation to preserve the oil on your life. You were never being punished. You were being preserved. That's why certain doors didn't open. That's why you were left out of conversations, skipped over for opportunities, forgotten in rooms where you showed up with full heart. But you weren't overlooked. You were hidden on purpose. Because when the right time came, He didn't want you to emerge tainted. He wanted you pure, ready, consecrated. When God sets someone apart, He doesn't always explain why. He just starts the pruning, the separation, the stretching, and it hurts. You cried through seasons where you didn't even know what you were crying about. You just knew something was shifting. Something inside you was too loud to ignore and too sacred to explain. People misunderstood you, because spiritual assignments aren't meant to be explained to carnal minds. You don't owe anyone clarity about your calling. You owe God your obedience, and He made it so that your spirit wouldn't let you settle for average, no matter how much your mind tried to negotiate it. That's why the jobs didn't fulfill you. The relationships drained you. The normal life agitated you. Because you weren't born for normal. You were born for holy disruption. You carry the kind of fire that makes lukewarm uncomfortable. You carry truth that exposes pretense. And that makes you a threat to every environment that prefers silence over spiritual awakening. This sense of not fitting in has followed you since childhood. You tried to play the part. You tried to smile when you were breaking. But deep down, you always knew there's something different about me. You weren't imagining it. You were discerning it. God didn't choose you because you were the strongest. He chose you because you were willing. He chose you because He knew you would survive what others couldn't. He trusted you with the wilderness. He trusted you with the silence. He trusted you with the confusion. And now, He's trusting you with the truth. You are stepping into the realization that your difference is your mantle. The loneliness was necessary. The rejection was divine. The delays were disguised, deliverance. And the heartbreak, that was heaven, severing soul ties that could not go where you are going. When you were crying over who left, God was rejoicing over who didn't stay. Because not everyone can survive the weight of your call. Not everyone can handle the light that radiates from you. Some people would have tried to dim it. Others would have exploited it. But now you know. Your tribe will recognize your light. Your people will hear your sound. You are not alone. You are just early. You're ahead of time. Ahead of culture. Ahead of your own comfort. Because your calling was written in eternal ink, not popular ink. You're not called to reflect the world. You're called to reflect the throne. Paul reminds us in 1 Corinthians 1, see, God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. That's why your life doesn't make sense to others. Because it's not supposed to. It only makes sense in the Spirit. Your season of confusion is ending. Your season of clarity is dawning. And your separation wasn't random, it was sacred. Heaven was building something inside you that could not be built in crowds. It had to be built in quiet, in silence, in obscurity. And now, that hidden construction is about to become a public commission. You were never disqualified, you were just being developed. Comment: I am chosen because what set you apart was never a flaw. It was the fingerprint of your divine assignment. There is something you've carried for years that you've tried to forget, suppress, or explain away. A gift, a fire, a divine awareness. You buried it, not because it was worthless, but because it was too weighty for the room you were in. You've dimmed your light, silenced your intuition, and second-guessed your knowing, all because others weren't ready for your roar. But your gift never died. It merely went dormant. It curled itself into the deepest place inside you, waiting for the hour your spirit would be strong enough to hold it again. That hour is now. Your gift was always real, even when they mocked it, even when you couldn't explain it, even when you yourself doubted it. It never left. It stayed with you through every breakdown, through every detour, through every season of spiritual numbness. Because it didn't come from you. It came through you. Heaven placed something in your soul that time could not erode and trauma could not erase. You didn't outgrow your calling, you just outgrew the shell it was hidden in. The world tried to mold you into something acceptable, but the fire inside you wouldn't comply. That fire is the reason you've always felt stretched, uneasy, incomplete, because nothing outside could match the magnitude of what was buried within. When you tried to bury your gift, heaven never agreed with that decision. That's why you felt spiritually restless, because the divine will never allow you to live in false comfort. It will disrupt peace to activate purpose. It will stir the waters of your soul until you answer the call you were born for. You've tried to numb it with logic, hide it behind achievements, bury it under relationships. But the gift kept knocking. Even in your silence, it whispered. Even in your rebellion, it waited. Even in your exhaustion, it stayed. God never revokes what he gives. Romans 11:29 declares, "For God's gifts and his call are irrevocable." That means no mistake you've made, no pit you've fallen into, no time you've lost can cancel what's still inside you. What he planted, he intends to harvest. Some of you were told you were too much, too intense, too appassionate, too sensitive. But that intensity wasn't emotional chaos, it was spiritual sensitivity. Your discernment wasn't delusion, it was design. You saw through things others accepted. You felt heaviness where others felt nothing. That wasn't coincidence. That was calling. The reason you had to hide your gift was because people around you were too small-minded to receive it. They tried to put natural explanations on supernatural DNA, and you believed them for a while, until now, until the hour came when your soul could no longer pretend. The world trains you to hide what makes you powerful, to normalize your fire, to edit your anointing. But heaven is retraining you now to stand in it, to speak with it, to move by it. You're stepping back into alignment with your divine wiring. Your gift is your tool, your compass, your weapon. You don't need to apologize for it. You need to wield it. The kingdom needs what you carry. The gift you thought was disqualified is now your divine leverage. It will unlock doors, expose a darkness, and deliver others. Some of you have been dreaming more lately, seeing visions, sensing things others miss. That's your gift, resurfacing. It's the breath of heaven waking up the part of you that was never dead, just dormant. And now it demands your attention. You are not getting weirder, you're getting realer. More aligned, more accurate, more alive. Because to reject your gift is to reject your role. And heaven won't let you sabotage yourself anymore. Not when so much is attached to your obedience. You will no longer apologize for your wisdom. You will no longer dull your discernment to protect someone's comfort. You will no longer question your sight because others can't see. The days of second-guessing your knowing are over. You've been reactivated. That spiritual gift you carry, it's not just for you. It's an answer for someone else's bondage, a weapon for someone else's breakthrough. Your voice may be the very sound someone else needs to hear to wake up from their sleep. Your light may be the only map they find in the dark. This isn't about hype. This is about holy alignment. You are not too late. You are right on time. The same gift you buried in fear will now make room for you in purpose. It's time to stop explaining your flame to those who were born in the cold. It's time to move like you know you're chosen. You are stepping into the sacred, and your gift is no longer optional. It is necessary. The world doesn't need more conformity. It needs the untamed power you carry. There's something you need to understand about your story. Chosen one. The darkness knew before you did. It always does. Hell does not wait for your awareness. It moves the moment your name is whispered in heaven, before you ever spoke a word in prayer, before you even understood spiritual things. Darkness had already pulled your file. You were detected, not because of your current power, but because of your potential. The enemy saw the oil before you knew you were anointed. This is why your life was under attack from the beginning. The battles that seemed unfair, they weren't random, they were preemptive. Darkness always moves early when greatness is hidden. It wants to strike you in seed form so you never reach full bloom. But look at you. You're still here. That heaviness you felt as a child, the confusion, the loneliness, it wasn't just emotion. It was spiritual interference. They tried to suppress your voice before it gained strength. They tried to break your heart before you learned to guard it. They tried to drain your joy before you found your purpose. But they failed. Every trap set against you became training. You were never an easy target. You were a strategic one. And the attacks didn't stop with childhood. The moment you got closer to truth, the warfare intensified. Every time you got clarity, confusion showed up. Every time you stood up, betrayal followed. Every time you took a step forward, something tried to pull you back. But that wasn't failure, it was confirmation. You were rattling the wrong realm. They knew. The spirits assigned to monitor your bloodline, the generational cycles that kept others bound, they knew you were the exception. That if you ever woke up fully, the whole system would shatter. So they came early. They whispered lies, stirred rejection, manufactured chaos, not to destroy you but to disarm you. You've walked through silent battles, emotional storms, spiritual dry seasons, because something holy inside you was being hunted. But every hit you took only confirmed this truth. Your role in this earth is not casual. It's critical. You are not just fighting for your future. You're standing between heaven and a broken lineage. And you are the breaker. You've carried more than others. Not because you're cursed, but because you're called. The load has been heavier, the nights longer, the confusion deeper, because what rests on your life terrifies darkness. You are not the one to be pitied. You are the one to be watched. You are a living disruption to demonic blueprints. That's why relationships felt volatile. Why your atmosphere often shifted when you entered a room. Why some people just didn't like you for no reason. It wasn't personal. It was spiritual. Your very presence disrupts comfort zones and agitates the spirit of complacency. You don't fit in because you're not supposed to blend in. It was declared in Luke 10, 10. I have given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions and to overcome all the power of the enemy. This is the truth darkness tried to keep from you. That you don't just survive warfare, you're designed to dominate in it. Your authority is not coming, it's already been given. But it activates when you agree with it. The moment you stop asking for permission and start walking in position, everything changes. You become a terror to the territories you were once afraid of. You become a living contradiction to every generational curse you were supposed to repeat. And now, your awakening is happening. That's why the warfare has flared up again. That's why the distractions increased. Because your hidden role has turned into visible movement. Your silence has become sound. Your questions have become commands. And heaven is backing you with force. This is the hour to rise, not in fear, but in focus. The enemy can no longer hold what was never his. Your mind, your voice, your influence, your gift, all of it is being reclaimed. You're stepping back into territories you once tiptoed through. And this time, you walk with fire in your feet and steel in your spine. So yes, the darkness knew first. But now you know. And when the chosen one knows who they are, everything changes. Your words gain weight. Your prayers gain power. Your presence gains purpose. You don't just live, you legislate. You don't just walk, you war. You don't just influence, you ignite. Chosen one, you were never weak. You were always watched. And now that your awareness has caught up with your anointing, the tables are turning. You are about to do what your bloodline has never seen. You are about to build what others only dreamed. You are about to silence every lie that ever told you to dim your light. This message is for the warriors who've been worn out, for the gifted who've been guilted, for the prophets who've been silenced. It's time to reclaim your roar. And if this word pierced your spirit, share it. Let others awaken. There are more chosen ones hiding in plain sight, waiting for their confirmation. If this resonated with you, like this message, subscribe for more divine releases, and consider supporting the mission. We're building a movement, not a moment. Every action you take fuels the fire for others to find theirs. There is a moment when everything changes, not outwardly, but internally, when something shifts so deeply within your spirit that you cannot go back to who you were, even if you tried. That moment is now. Tonight is not just another night. It is the hour of divine alarm. You feel it, don't you? The unrest, the stirring, the feeling like something eternal is breathing down your neck. That's not anxiety. That's awakening. That's your spirit answering a call from heaven that was sent out long before your body was ever born. Heaven has sounded the alarm over your life. Something eternal has been activated in the invisible realm, and you, chosen one, are in the center of it. The divine alert has gone out, and it's calling every marked soul to attention. You are not just being called, you are being summoned. This is not a suggestion. It's not a soft nudge. It is an emergency activation. Your spirit was asleep because it had to be, but now it must awaken. The timeline you were born for is here. The role you were hiding from has been placed on your shoulders, and the call is loud. You are feeling the pull, not just in your emotions, but in your patterns. What used to satisfy you suddenly feels shallow. What you once tolerated now feels toxic. You can't sit in the same cycles anymore. That's because you're not the same. Something divine has shifted within you. You are no longer compatible with complacency. Chosen one, hear this clearly. Delay is now rebellion. You cannot wait any longer. Every second of hesitation pulls you further from alignment. This is not about fear, it's about urgency. When heaven calls, delay becomes disobedience. You are not just being invited, you are being warned. When God sounds the alarm, it's not for curiosity, it's for collision. Heaven is crashing into your timeline. This is a divine interruption, a spiritual collision between what was and what must now be. And you are the bridge. You've cried out for purpose, begged for meaning, asked God for clarity. And now that it's here, it looks like discomfort. It looks like loss. It looks like an alarm that won't stop ringing. Because what you asked for requires who you really are, not who you've been pretending to be. Some of you are trying to go back to sleep, trying to convince yourself this is just another moment. But you know it's not. You can feel the trembling in your spirit. You know something is happening that your mind hasn't even caught up to yet. This is not coincidence. This is divine intervention. God has pressed pause on everything around you just to get this message to you. You are not watching this by chance. The heavens are tracking your response. Your yes will echo through generations, but your no, it will cost more than you can afford. Tonight, the alarm is sounding, not just around you, but in you. You feel the old patterns breaking, the old voices losing volume, the old chains cracking open. That's not coincidence. That's God, waking you up, calling you higher. You cannot stay where you've been. Not mentally, not spiritually, not emotionally. What served you before will now suffocate you. The places you once called safe will become spiritually silent, because heaven will not feed what it did not assign. You are feeling the alarm because the shift is personal. No one else will hear what you hear. No one else will feel what you feel. That's because your call is custom. Your role is specific. And heaven doesn't send alarms to the general public, it sends them to the chosen. The time for comfort is over. You cannot ask for glory and refuse the groaning. You cannot pray for power and resist the process. Heaven is calling you to wake up, not gently, but with fire. You are being summoned into the war room, and your silence will be louder than your excuses. As we read in Joel 2, blow the trumpet in Zion, sound the alarm on my holy hill. Let all who live in the land tremble, for the day of the Lord is coming. This is that trumpet. This is that tremble. And you are the one it's for. You've been feeling the signs. Strange warfare, intense dreams, a sudden distaste for things you once loved. All of it is the alarm. Your assignment is activating, and heaven is watching to see if you'll move. This is your wake-up call. It is not emotional hype. It is eternal invitation. Comment 999 if you feel the alarm in your soul. Every hidden warrior goes through a season of shadow, a time when nothing makes sense, and yet everything is being constructed in silence. You've been there. You've walked through the dark halls of unanswered prayers, waited in rooms where heaven seemed silent, and endured a silence so loud it made your bones ache. But none of it was in vain. You were being trained in shadows. God never launches public power without private preparation. You weren't being ignored, you were being initiated. The pain was not punishment. It was process. The wilderness you wandered wasn't wasted. It was the very forge that shaped your authority. While others were building platforms, you were building altars. While they were posting highlights, you were fighting battles no one knew about. You cried in places no one saw, broke down behind doors no one opened, and still showed up when no one clapped. That is how spiritual weapons are formed. You didn't just survive the wilderness, you were sharpened by it. The loneliness taught you how to hear God. The silence taught you how to trust Him. The disappointment trained you to walk by faith, not by sight. And now, everything in your history is about to make sense. You've been in a spiritual boot camp. Every betrayal taught you boundaries. Every delay taught you discernment. Every closed door taught you direction. The very things you thought disqualified, you have become the evidence of your equipping. People saw your silence as weakness, but in the Spirit, silence is strategy. God hides what He's healing. He conceals what He's crafting. He covered you not because you were broken, but because you were becoming too powerful to be exposed prematurely. Even your enemies were used in the training. Every person who rejected you was unknowingly helping prepare your spirit. God used them to chisel your character, to toughen your resolve, to humble your ego. You didn't even realize you were in training, because heaven never sent a syllabus, just storms. The things that made no sense back then are now forming your sword. You know how to endure. You know how to move in silence. You know how to pray when it's dry. You know how to discern who's real and who's sent. And that knowledge, costly as it was, is priceless now. You didn't take a shortcut. You took the sacred path. And sacred paths are slow, deep, and hidden. The world rewards speed. Heaven rewards submission. And you, chosen one, submitted, even when you didn't understand. There were nights you were sure you missed it. Times you thought maybe you heard wrong. Moments where doubt choked your confidence. But through all of it, something deeper was forming. A knowing, a fire, a resolve that says, even if no one sees me, I still know who I am. This is why you don't flinch like you used to. Why your reactions have changed. Why your eyes carry weight. It's not because life made you hard. It's because the Spirit made you wise. You've been through enough to recognize what's real, and that makes you dangerous to darkness. Jesus himself spent 30 years in obscurity for a 3-year ministry. He learned in silence, was raised in shadows, and when the time came, he moved with power that couldn't be explained by earthly systems. That same pattern has been yours. Hidden first, revealed later, trained where no one could see. As we read in Isaiah 49:R, he made my mouth like a sharpened sword. In the shadow of his hand he hid me. He made me into a polished arrow and concealed me in his quiver. That's what your life has been, a polishing, a sharpening, a concealment, not rejection, protection. You are not stepping out as someone new. You're stepping out as someone refined, someone forged, someone proven in fire. You didn't get here by pretending. You got here by persevering. You endured things that would have broken others, and now that strength is visible, this next season will not be defined by striving, but by standing. You will not need to explain yourself. Your fruit will speak. Your presence will testify. Your voice will shake things not because you're loud, but because you're loaded. You're not just carrying knowledge. You're carrying weight. The kind of weight that doesn't need applause to move. The kind of weight that shifts spiritual climates when you walk in. Because the one who's been trained in shadows doesn't need stage lights. They bring light with them. You are ready. Not because you feel ready, but because God says you are. And He wouldn't call you if He hadn't equipped you. Your wilderness was the evidence. Your endurance was the sign. You passed tests no one knew you were taking, and heaven saw it all. Now, the covering is being lifted. The hidden one is becoming visible. And when they ask, "Where did you come from?" you'll smile because they'll never know the cost of what you carry. But heaven knows. And now it's time. There are moments in your life where the spiritual realm leans in closer, where the eyes of heaven are no longer watching from a distance, but focusing in with full intensity on your next decision. You are in one of those moments now. Divine eyes have fallen on you, not in judgment, not in wrath, but in activation. The same way a commander looks over their soldier before sending them into a battle they were born for. The same way a sculptor steps back, knowing the last strike of the chisel is about to unveil the final form. That's how heaven is looking at you right now. You've been in waiting, wondering when it would be your time, not for applause, not for fame, but for release, for purpose. And now, the gaze of God has settled over your life like a mantle. You can feel it, can't you? That sacred tension, that divine pressure. It's not just stress, it's spotlight. You are not being watched for entertainment. You are being watched for movement. What you do next carries generational weight. The whisper that keeps repeating in your spirit, "Now is the time," is not your imagination. It's your assignment rising to the surface. There's a reason you've felt unusually sensitive in this season. Emotions close to the edge. Discernment more alert. Sleep less restful. It's because your soul knows the eyes of heaven are no longer distant. They are near. The host of heaven is leaning over the edge of eternity, waiting for your response. This is what it feels like when you're on the edge of revelation, when everything in the natural looks unchanged, but everything in the spirit is trembling with expectation. You are not just about to move, you are about to be moved. You are under divine inspection, not for condemnation, but for confirmation. God has searched your heart and found something rare. Not perfection, but hunger. Not performance, but surrender. And that is all he needs. When divine eyes fall on you, it means an invitation is being extended. A moment is being offered. Not to all, just to you. Because what you carry is specific, sacred, strategically designed for this time. David was in the field when the eyes of God found him, overlooked by men, undervalued by family, but divinely chosen. And in one moment, everything changed. Not because he announced himself, but because God announced him. Samuel didn't come looking for a king randomly. He came because heaven had already seen David. That's what's happening now. You are being seen by the divine. And what follows next will not be determined by your resume, but by your readiness. You've asked God for clarity. This is it. You've begged for confirmation. You're living in it. The pressure you feel is not punishment, it's presence. And presence always precedes purpose. The eyes of God are not like the eyes of man. Where man sees image, God sees essence. Where man sees your flaws, God sees your fire. Where man sees your mistakes, God sees your molding. In 2 Chronicles 6:9, it says, "For the eyes of the Lord range throughout the earth to strengthen those whose hearts are fully committed to him." You are not random. You are recognized. And that recognition is not passive, it's prophetic. There is strength coming to your steps now. Because heaven doesn't just inspect, it empowers. When divine eyes fall on you, they fall with fire. The kind that consumes excuses and ignites assignments. You will feel it in your posture, in your speech, in your decision. Something is changing and you know it. It won't look dramatic to others, but your inner world is roaring. Your discernment is heightened. Your appetite is changing. The things that used to satisfy you now feel like sand. That's the evidence you're under divine gaze. Because heaven is reconfiguring you to match your mantle. You don't need to chase visibility. You need to steward vision. Visibility is what man gives. Vision is what God reveals. And when you carry vision correctly, heaven will illuminate your steps. Even in darkness, you feared the spotlight because of past shame, past failure, past fears. But God does not light up what he plans to expose. He lights up what he plans to reveal. And you, chosen one, are not being exposed. You are being revealed. This is why you've been hidden. This is why you've been pruned. This is why the silence lasted so long. Because what God is about to do through you requires full attention from the throne. And now, you have it. So walk carefully, not in fear, but in reverence. Guard your yes. Protect your alignment. Don't let small things distract you in this hour of divine focus. The gaze of heaven does not linger where there is compromise. It rests where there is consecration. The eyes of God are upon you, and they see what others missed. They see the hidden strength, the buried faith, the trembling obedience, and that is more than enough. There is something fierce awakening in your voice, something that can no longer be silenced. No matter how much you've tried to stay quiet, you've gone through seasons of second-guessing, of withholding, of waiting for the right time to speak. But heaven is declaring this truth over you now. Your voice has authority, not because of volume, not because of eloquence, but because of what it carries. You have been given a sound that shifts spiritual realms, breaks thickness, and speaks into atmospheres. You don't just talk, you release. You don't just speak, you strike. The enemy has tried for years to muzzle you, not just in the natural, but in the spirit, to silence your intercession, to choke your declarations, to convince you that your words are weak. But those attacks weren't random, they were intentional. Because the moment you believe in your sound, you become unstoppable. Your voice was crafted by heaven to command things back into alignment. That's why your prayers feel different. That's why when you speak life over others, something shifts. You weren't given that tone by accident. You carry spiritual weight in your words. The word in you carries sword in the spirit. That's why warfare intensified when you started praying with conviction. Why resistance came when you declared truth out loud. Because every time you speak as a chosen one, you disrupt every unclean thing that thought it could stay. You've been quiet long enough, not because you had nothing to say, but because you were unsure if it mattered. But now, the Spirit of God is urging you. Speak again. Pray again. Prophesy again. There is authority in your utterance. Even your sigh carries weight when you're aligned with heaven. When God gives authority, He confirms it with action. And some of you have already seen it, moments where you prayed and peace fell. Moments where you declared and doors opened. That was not coincidence. That was heaven responding to a sound it recognizes. Your voice is not like everyone else's. It is encoded with prophetic purpose. Some of you think you're just giving advice, but it's revelation. You think you're just encouraging, but you're delivering keys. You think it's just a song, but the notes carry warfare. You must begin to see your words as weapons. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. As Proverbs 18:21 says, when you speak from alignment, heaven backs your breath. When you declare in faith, the natural has no choice but to respond. This is why the enemy attacked your confidence, why you stuttered through seasons, why you felt afraid to speak up. Because if he could keep you quiet, he could keep you contained. But that fear is breaking now. That hesitation is being dismantled. Because the fire in your bones will no longer be silenced. Jeremiah once said, "His word is in my heart like a fire shut up in my bones. I am weary of holding it in. Indeed, I cannot." That is your story now. You've held back long enough. You've swallowed truth to keep peace. But no more. The fire is too strong. The time is now. You are not just a voice. You are a voice crying out in the wilderness. One that makes the crooked paths straight. One that rattles dead things and breathes life into dry places. You speak, and things start to move. Not because of emotion, but because of divine empowerment. Even your whisper in private places causes echoes in the spirit. This is why some atmospheres shift when you walk in, not because you're loud, but because of what's on you. Your presence carries a frequency, and your voice releases it. Chosen one, it's time to reclaim your sound, to speak with the boldness of someone who knows heaven is listening and hell is trembling. You've been authorized by the King, and what you say matters more than you know. This authority isn't just for platforms, it's for your home, your car, your journal, your secret place. Begin to declare life again over your body, your family, your destiny. Begin to speak what heaven has shown you, not what fear tries to feed you. Your voice was not made to entertain, it was made to establish. You don't just talk, you build. You don't just vent, you declare. And every word aligned with heaven releases a ripple in the unseen. Do not waste that power. You are stepping into a new level of verbal boldness, where hesitation dies and holy confidence rises, where opinions fall, and the word of the Lord takes over. You will no longer just speak about breakthrough, you will speak it into being. So let it out. Let your roar rise. Let your sound ring. The silence is over. The hesitation is broken. And your voice is now fully weaponized. Say, I will speak because the silence that once shielded your gift can no longer hold back your divine roar. There is a moment when heaven no longer allows you to blend in, when your invisibility cloak is ripped away and you are seen not just by people, but by purpose. You've entered that moment. The time of hiding is over. You've lived through long seasons of silence, where no one saw your potential, where you felt invisible to both men and miracles. But that invisibility was not punishment, it was insulation. God kept you covered, because exposure without preparation can destroy what's divine. And now, because your roots have grown deep, your fruit is about to show. There is no more room for delay, no more space for small talk with fear. You've been called out of hiding, and heaven is no longer permitting you to sit in the background. You were never created to spectate, you were designed to spark shifts. You are being revealed. This unveiling will not look like a spotlight, it will feel like an earthquake. Subtle, then sudden. Everything familiar will begin to feel foreign. Not because you've changed the world, but because the world can no longer contain who you've become. The people, places, and mindsets that once felt safe will now feel too small. Don't be surprised if certain relationships begin to feel misaligned. When heaven starts to reveal a person, exposure begins on every level, not just externally, but internally. Even your own thoughts will be inspected. Heaven is clearing the runway because your life is about to launch. You've been walking with a mantle that's only now being recognized, carrying weight in rooms where no one knew your name. But God saw, and now He's shifting your season. You will go from being the one who helped to the one they need. Not because of ego, but because of execution. You've done the inner work, and now it's time for external release. Chosen one, you were never meant to stay hidden. Hiding was a phase, not your future. The time has come to stop shrinking, to stop deferring, to stop second-guessing the sound of God in your soul. What you carry is not just helpful, it's holy. It's needed. And heaven is no longer allowing you to pretend otherwise. The very prayers you whispered in fear are now about to echo in public authority. The things you cried about in secret are the same things you'll command with boldness. You are stepping out, not as someone desperate for approval, but as someone full of fire. Let the hesitation fall away. Let the guilt about past seasons die. You are not the same person who entered the wilderness. You are walking out of hiding with new eyes, new strength, and a heavenly charge. You don't need a crowd, you need a commission. And heaven has given you one. In Matthew 5, 14-16. Jesus says, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." You were never designed to stay buried. You are a city on a hill. Your light is not pride, it's purpose. Your visibility is not vanity, it's victory. Every time you show up in full truth, someone else sees it's possible to do the same. Your obedience gives others permission to rise. This is not just about you, it's about legacy. And yes, some will not understand this version of you. That's okay. You were not revealed for their comfort. You were revealed for kingdom cause. You are not being elevated for applause. You are being positioned for impact. You are becoming the very thing you prayed for, a vessel of clarity in a world of confusion, a torch in the middle of spiritual fog. The shift in your atmosphere is already happening, because you're moving differently now. You're walking with posture, with fire, with a sound that hell recognizes. And as you walk out of hiding, know this: the support you need will find you. The doors you require will open. The provision assigned to your purpose will arrive. You're not stepping into this alone. Heaven is walking with you. If this message has lit something in your spirit, don't let it stop here. Share it. Let others know that hiding is not their home. There are thousands still stuck in silence who need to hear what's waking you up now. Your share could be someone else's spark. And if this word ministered to you, subscribe so you never miss what heaven is releasing next. Stay connected to the flow. You are not a spectator, you are part of this divine movement. And if you're led, sow into the vision. Every seed fuels the reach, and every act of generosity becomes a ripple in someone else's breakthrough. You've been hidden long enough. Now move in power. You weren't chosen to keep things the same. You were chosen to disrupt. There's a shaking that happens when someone steps fully into their assignment. Systems feel it. Atmospheres feel it. Spirits feel it. And whether you realize it or not, your very presence has been stirring the unseen. You are a divine disruption to darkness. God did not assign you to merely maintain order. He assigned you to shift it. You weren't placed on this earth to fit in. You were placed here to break cycles, to expose what's been hidden, to confront what's been tolerated for too long. Your life is confrontational, not because of attitude, but because of anointing. You carry something that threatens every spiritual structure built on lies. When you walk into a room, things that are fake start to tremble. Patterns that have lingered for generations begin to lose their grip. And it's not because of how loud you are, it's because of how true you are. There are systems, spiritual, emotional, generational, that will collapse when you stand in full agreement with your assignment. Your yes to God is a no to bondage. Your alignment is rebellion to hell's strategy. You're not just living a good life, you're living a counterstrike. Some of you have wondered why you feel constant resistance, why conversations around you become heavy, why you're met with conflict where you only wanted peace. It's not personal, it's prophetic. When you carry divine disruption, everything built in falsehood will push back. You've walked into rooms where no one welcomed you, but everything shifted. You thought you were being rejected, but the truth is, you were being recognized. Darkness knows who you are, even when you forget. That's why certain things fell apart when you arrived. You didn't destroy them. Your light exposed them. You weren't called to coddle dysfunction. You were called to challenge it. And that challenge doesn't always look like confrontation. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like leaving. Sometimes it's your presence alone that causes the trembling. You felt that tension, that resistance, that shift in the air, that spiritual recognition. It's not arrogance to acknowledge your authority. It's obedience. When Jesus walked into regions, demons trembled before he even spoke. He carried disruption without effort. That same spirit is in you. Your life is not random. Your birth was not accidental. You were divinely placed into a specific bloodline, within a specific generation, because there are specific strongholds that only you can confront. Not by might, not by force, but by being who you are fully could. You've tried to soften your voice. You've tried to minimize your presence. You've tried to make peace with things God never told you to tolerate. But your spirit refuses to settle. You're not here to be accepted. You're here to be effective. Jeremiah 1:10 declares, "See, today I appoint you over nations and kingdoms to uproot and tear down, to destroy and overthrow, to build and to plant." This is not a comfortable mandate. It is a disruptive one, and it is yours. You were given this assignment because you carry what it takes to complete it. The disruption will cost you comfort, relationships, reputation. But what you gain in heaven's reward far outweighs what you lose on earth. Chosen one. Stop trying to make your calling polite. It's not. It was never supposed to be. You've been handed a sword not to wound people, but to divide truth from lies. You weren't sent to smooth things over. You were sent to set things free. And freedom is messy. It disturbs. It reveals. It shakes what's been still for too long. That's what your life does. That's what your words do. That's what your obedience does. You are not dangerous because of your size, your status, or your connections. You are dangerous because you are awake, because you are aware, because you move with heaven's agenda. And when someone walks in full agreement with the will of God, there is nothing hell can do to stop them. This is why the warfare increased. This is why you felt the pressure, because the moment you decide to walk in truth, you declare war on every lie that held your bloodline hostage, and your footsteps are beginning to crush things that have ruled for generations. You are the disruption, and disruption does not come to ask for permission. It comes to announce a new order, heaven's order. You are not here to echo culture. You are here to establish kingdom. You will not blend. You will not conform. You will not be silenced, because you were not chosen to keep things the same. You were chosen to shift everything. You've begun to notice it more and more, the tension between who you were and who you're becoming. The pull to rise, while those around you prefer you stay the same. It's not arrogance. It's not distance. It's alignment. You're being pulled higher. This elevation is not glamorous, it's costly. God is calling you up, and everything that clings to comfort is being stripped away. You've felt the shift in your spirit, the ache for more, the disconnect from old conversations, the sudden distaste for shallow living. These are not mood swings. They are signals. You are being summoned to a new altitude. Elevation isolates. The higher you go, the thinner the air, the fewer the companions. This is why you've been feeling like no one truly gets you lately. Because the path you're on wasn't made for crowds. It was made for the called. You've asked, why do I feel so alone? Because not everyone can breathe where God is taking you. You're being called to a spiritual climate that only those with trained lungs can survive. Many want glory, but few can handle the climb. This is not a punishment. This is preservation. God is separating you so He can prepare you. The assignment ahead requires new discipline, new clarity, new posture. And you can't carry elevation with old habits. You can't carry revelation with old reasoning. You're being refined again. There's a part of you that wants to go back, just for comfort. But you can't unsee what you've seen. You can't unknow what's been revealed. You've tasted the real, and counterfeit won't satisfy anymore. The people who once understood you may now misinterpret you. Those who once walked with you may now fall silent. It hurts, but it's holy. You're not losing support, you're gaining sanctification. And the more you rise, the more clearly you'll see, not everyone left. Some were released. You're not being pulled away, you're being pulled higher. In Exodus 20, God called Moses to come up the mountain, but he said, "Come up to me and wait there." Waiting and climbing often go together. That's why you've been tired, spiritually winded, because the ascent has been steep, but the view will be worth it. Elevation demands obedience, not understanding. You won't have all the details, but you'll have direction, and that's enough, because God doesn't call you to clarity, He calls you to trust. Every part of you that's dying in this season is making room for what's rising. The impatience, the insecurity, the approval addiction, they cannot go with you. They were part of your wilderness, not your mountain. This is a sacred transition, and you are being watched, not by people but by heaven. The angels assigned to you are leaning in, not because they doubt you, but because they honor what's being placed on you. You're not climbing for survival. You're climbing for impartation. God is not just taking you higher for your sake. He's lifting you so others can follow. You are becoming a reference point, a lighthouse, a standard, and standards must stand tall, even if it means standing alone. This climb isn't about elevation in status. It's about elevation in spirit, in discernment, in conviction, in clarity. You are about to hear differently, see differently, move differently. Because where you're going, you can't afford noise. You can't afford delay. You can't afford confusion. You've been called up the mountain, and at the top, there will be encounters, instructions, blueprints, but also separation. Glory does not dwell in crowds. It rests in consecrated places. So don't resist the pull. Don't fear the solitude. God is not taking you away from connection. He's bringing you into covenant. This climb will cost you, but it will crown you. Isaiah 40:31 reminds us, "But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles." You are not just climbing. You are preparing to soar. Say, 444. Because your calling is climbing, and heaven is watching your ascent. You can feel it even when you don't have words for it. The pressure building, the opposition tightening, the atmosphere around you getting heavier. That's not your imagination. That's spiritual resistance. Because every time you ascend in purpose, hell gets nervous. There's a reason things have felt more intense lately. Why small things irritate. Why peace feels disrupted. Why you've been waking up at strange hours. You are not under attack because you're weak. You are under surveillance because you're powerful. Your spiritual presence has shifted. And now, darkness is scrambling. The enemy recognizes movement before people do. Hell doesn't wait for applause to react. It moves the moment alignment begins. That's why the pressure has come in subtle ways, mental distractions, emotional fatigue, unexpected delays. Not to break you, but to blur your vision. But here's what hell forgot. Pressure only activates the chosen. You don't fold under fire, you form under it. The heat does not consume you, it refines you. Your spiritual light has become disruptive. You don't even need to speak to shake things. Just your presence stirs spiritual discomfort. You've walked into places and felt resistance without anyone saying a word. That's discernment. That's confirmation. You are dangerous to the enemy because you're not easily distracted anymore. You don't run like you used to. You don't crumble at the first sign of trouble. You've seen too much. You've lost too much. And now, your roots run deep. What's happening around you is not about you, it's about what's coming through you. You're carrying something that can't be delayed any longer, and darkness knows if you birth it, everything changes. That's why you've been experiencing warfare in your rest, in your thoughts, in your clarity. The closer you get to release, the louder the resistance. Because the moment you step into full agreement with heaven, every dormant thing in your bloodline begins to shake. But you weren't anointed to blend in with fear. You were built to confront it. You don't run from battles. You were created to win them. There's a sound your soul makes when it's tired of pretending, when it's ready to be fully seen. That sound has reached heaven, and heaven is responding, not with comfort, but with commissioning. You are not just being comforted in this season, you're being deployed. There is divine fire stirring in you now, not to burn you, but to brand you. You are being sealed with a level of clarity that hell cannot unsee. Once heaven marks you, darkness must recalculate. Don't be surprised when doors close, when people distance themselves, when familiar circles feel foreign. That's not rejection, it's revelation. Some alignments are being severed because your new assignment demands new boundaries. You are not the same. Not spiritually, not emotionally, not energetically, and the places that once celebrated your silence are now uncomfortable with your sound. But your silence was never your identity. It was just a pause before the roar. Psalm 18:39 says, "You armed me with strength for battle. You humbled my adversaries before me." This is what's happening. Strength is being stirred. Adversaries are being exposed. And your spirit is remembering what you were created for. You're not just part of the crowd anymore. You are becoming the interruption, the divine interference, the one darkness dreads seeing fully awakened. Your very posture carries prophetic weight. Your presence is not random, it's recalibrating atmospheres. Every time you choose faith over fear, truth over comfort, obedience over popularity, you're moving the needle in the spirit. You're not losing control, you're gaining alignment. This is your moment of refinement, and refinement feels like loss, but it's gain in disguise. The heaviness you feel is not your end, it's your birthing weight. You're pushing through dimensions that others only pray about, and you're doing it with bruised knees, tired eyes, and a quiet yes that hell can't silence. You are not forgotten. You are forged. There's a rumble in the unseen realm, a vibration that started the moment you stopped questioning your identity and started walking in it. Hell is nervous, and it should be. Your awakening has not gone unnoticed. You've become a problem to darkness, not because you shouted louder, but because you surrendered deeper. Every act of obedience, every rejection you endured, every hidden yes, it all added up. And now, you are marked not only by heaven, but also by opposition. The moment you said, "I will not go back," hell registered a threat alert. Because people who walk away from sin are dangerous. But people who walk toward purpose, unstoppable. You didn't just survive the attack, you learned its pattern. And now you move with precision. Discernment has replaced distraction. Prayer has replaced panic. You see too much now to be manipulated. You sense too deeply to be deceived. This is why the warfare has changed shape. It's no longer just about tempting you, it's about exhausting you. The enemy wants to wear you down, so you'll self-sabotage. But he's forgotten that pressure is your proving ground. You were born for the press. The fear you once had of being misunderstood is breaking. The need for approval is evaporating. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be light. And light doesn't ask for permission to shine. It simply does what it was created to do. You're beginning to realize that some of your greatest resistance was actually spiritual data. Every season that tried to bury you only served to sharpen you. And now, you carry experience hell, wishes you didn't survive. The darkness hoped you'd stay silent, that you'd stay hurt, that you'd stay small. But you didn't. You rose up with strategy. And now, your very presence enforces boundaries in the spirit. What once chased you now flees from you. Not because you're perfect, but because you're positioned. It was declared in Deuteronomy 28. See, the Lord will grant that the enemies who rise up against you will be defeated before you. That's not poetic, it's prophetic. That's the truth over your life. And now, you're living it. Your authority is no longer potential, it's practiced. You've cast off shame. And now you wear discernment like armor. You don't just survive now, you shape territory. Your footsteps echo in places your name hasn't even reached yet. There's a reverence about your walk now. A certainty that doesn't need to prove anything. You've walked through the fire, and it didn't consume you. You walked through the silence, and it didn't kill you. You walked through the wilderness, and it refined you. And now, hell knows. You're not who you used to be. That's why even the atmosphere reacts to you. Why some people shift around you. Why you sense agitation in places that used to feel easy. You're not a threat because you try to be. You're a threat because you are. Your movement now carries momentum. The realm of darkness hoped you'd never see your full reflection in the spirit. But now that you have, the chase is over. You don't run, you rule. You speak, and heaven responds. You pray, and things move. You worship, and the ground shakes. Not because of volume, but because of validity. You've been validated in the secret place, and now you're vindicated in the spiritual one. Hell is nervous because your oil is real. Your fire isn't borrowed, it's birth. And your words are no longer guesses, they're guided. You know who you are, and when a chosen one knows who they are, the demonic blueprint begins to burn. This is not the time to shrink. This is not the time to apologize for your growth. This is the hour to stand firm. Not défensive, decisive. You don't need to fight for a position you were born into. You are not rising, you've already risen. The warfare will not stop, but it will no longer confuse you. Because now you understand, opposition is a signal, not a sign of defeat. You're not under attack. You're under assignment. And every time you move, hell moves back. You are a walking prophecy. Every scar on your skin, every ache in your chest, every unanswered prayer, none of it is random. It was all part of a story that was written long before you took your first breath. You've been living pieces of prophecy without even knowing it. And now, the full script is unfolding. God didn't write your life in pencil. He wrote it in fire, in permanence. Your very existence is proof of a divine word spoken into the earth realm. You were born to fulfill a declaration, not just to survive another day. There is nothing accidental about your path. Even the detours, even the heartbreak, even the doors that slammed shut in your face. You thought you were just stumbling forward, but heaven was marking your steps. Every turn you made, every tear you shed, every breath you prayed when no one was around, it was all data that confirms you are on divine assignment. You are not wandering. You are being revealed. What you've endured would have destroyed someone else. The storms you came through weren't just for survival. They were shaping you to become the sound of freedom for others. You didn't walk out empty-handed. You walked out with evidence. Evidence that God still calls, still heals, still sends. Everything in your life has prophetic weight. The way you love, the way you carry truth, the way you shift a room without saying a word. That is the result of being branded by heaven. You carry the fragrance of divine process, and it cannot be faked. Some of you don't even realize that your voice has already started breaking chains in others. You've become the fulfillment of prayers someone else forgot they prayed. You are the answer, walking into dark places, not because of ego, but because of essence. God chose you to be a living signal, a reminder to the world that light still walks among us, that glory still touches earth, that holiness can still wear human skin. And every time you show up, prophecy gets louder. The enemy didn't fight you because you were lost. He fought you because he saw the code inside you, the divine code etched in your spirit that told him what you'd become. He saw the breakthrough you would carry, the chains you'd break, the people you'd deliver, and he panicked. But here's the glory. You made it. You're still standing, still breathing, still choosing righteousness over ease, still trusting when it would have been easier to walk away. You are the prophecy hell couldn't silence. Isaiah 5:11 says, "So is my word that goes out from my mouth. It will not return to me empty, but will accomplish what I desire." You are the walking proof of that word. You're not just carrying purpose, you are the purpose. Even your delays were divine. God allowed you to walk slower than others because what you carry is weightier than what others were holding. You weren't just being protected, you were being preserved. You are now in the season where everything you've endured is converging. Your past pain, your hidden strength, your unspoken yes. All of it is forming a powerful crescendo. The world may see someone rising, but heaven sees a prophecy fulfilled in real time. There's something sacred about people who keep going after being broken, who keep believing after disappointment, who keep loving after betrayal. That's you. You are God's statement of resilience in a world addicted to shortcuts. And now, your next step is not about arrival, it's about release. You are not just being positioned, you are being poured out. There is a sound, a message, a weight inside you that cannot remain bottled any longer. You won't need to announce yourself. Your life will do the talking. Your very being is becoming a megaphone for heaven. What you once whispered in pain, you will now declare with authority. You are the living testimony that the word never fails, that obedience pays off, that grace reaches even the darkest places. You are not a story in progress, you are a word being fulfilled. And if this message stirred something deep in your spirit, don't keep it to yourself. There are others still buried in silence, still lost in their wilderness, still doubting if God can use them. Share this word and let them know. you can still be the prophecy. If you've been walking with this movement and it's been speaking into your soul, make sure you're subscribed. Stay connected to the rhythm of what heaven is pouring out. And if you feel led to support, your generosity helps us carry this fire to places and people still waiting to awaken. Every share, every seed, every act of faith, it all expands the reach of this divine assignment. Type "blow" in the comment. Heaven chose me. Because everything you've carried is now being confirmed before the eyes of heaven and earth. Something has changed, and it's irreversible. You are not who you were even a month ago. Heaven has placed a new mantle on your shoulders. You didn't ask for it. You didn't audition for it. You were chosen for it. This new mantle isn't loud, it's weighty. It doesn't beg for recognition. It commands spiritual attention. You felt the shift. Even if you didn't have the words for it. You've walked differently, thought differently, responded differently. That's not mood. That's mantle. It came quietly. No fireworks. No applause. Just a sudden heaviness. A holy responsibility. A weight you didn't expect, but somehow know how to carry. That's what happens when heaven puts something new on you. Your spirit recognizes the shift before your mind can explain it. This mantle is not decoration, it's delegation. Heaven has entrusted you with more authority, more discernment, more reach, not for ego, but for execution. What was once dormant is now active. What was once theory is now your lifestyle. You used to second-guess yourself. Now, you sense things before they form. You used to hope for moments. Now, you carry atmospheres. You are not being called to events. You are being called to establish environments. That's what mantles do. They alter how you move. What you carry now won't let you walk into a room without something shifting. Your prayers are heavier. Your silence is louder. Your very presence carries the residue of the throne room. This mantle comes with separation. Not everyone will recognize it. Some will still talk to the old version of you, unaware that heaven has upgraded your file. Don't be discouraged. You don't need acknowledgement to be anointed. Oil doesn't need consensus. There will be moments when this mantle feels like a burden, moments where you wish for your old life, your old pace, your old circle. But there's no going back. Once the mantle rests, the assignment begins, and you've been summoned for something you cannot outrun. You were handed this mantle because you proved faithful with the last one, even when no one was watching. Even when your obedience didn't yield applause. Heaven saw, and heaven responded. This mantle didn't fall by accident. It was passed to you, tested by fire, delivered through sacrifice. Others forfeited what you now carry. Others fumbled what you now guard. That's why your reverence is necessary, because you're holding what once slipped through someone else's hands. In 2 Kings 2:13-14, Elisha picks up Elijah's mantle after it falls. He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't question. He strikes the water and says, "Where now is the Lord, the God of Elijah?" And the water parts. That's what happens when the mantle is real. It produces proof. Your mantle will make room for you, but it will also make demands. It will require discipline, vision, purity, courage, and you are being equipped for all of it. Heaven doesn't give mantles without giving measures. You won't have to manufacture strength. It will rise from within you. Some will try to minimize what's on you, not because they're evil, but because they're unfamiliar. The mantle will offend those who only remember your wilderness. Let them talk. You weren't mantled for their approval, you were mantled for divine work. Everything you touch now must come under spiritual governance. Conversations, relationships, decisions. This mantle isn't just about what you do, it's about how you carry who you are. You can't afford to move recklessly. Not anymore. You're carrying too much glory to move casually. And the battles, they will change too. Mantles attract new levels of warfare. But don't fear the fight. The mantle comes with covering. You won't battle alone. You'll battle with backup. Angels don't escort tourists, they cover those who are sent. You've been clothed with something eternal, not seen by eyes, but felt in realms. That's why the ground feels different beneath your feet. Why your footsteps seem louder in the spirit. You're not just walking, you're marching. And darkness is taking notice. You are not playing roles anymore. You are walking in rank. The robe on you is not a reward, it is a responsibility. You've stepped into a level of authority that cannot be undone. And with it comes access, revelation, wisdom, command. This is your new normal. The mantle is not for moments, it's for movement. You're not visiting glory, you're becoming a carrier of it. The weight you feel is not pressure, it's presence. Walk carefully. Speak boldly. Move humbly. You have been mantled. This is it. The moment everything has been leading to. The culmination of the silence. The warfare. The whispers in the night. The dreams that wouldn't die. You've crossed the threshold. The scroll of your life has unrolled to the part where you step into full alignment. Now, walk in it. Don't second-guess what you've survived. Don't apologize for the anointing that cost you everything. Don't shrink from the authority that's rising in your voice. You are no longer becoming, you are. The hesitation that once kept you in hiding has no power here. You carry legacy in your breath, heaven's design in your hands. You are a blueprint in motion. Proof that God still selects the unlikely to do the unthinkable. You are not in preparation anymore. You are in deployment. Walk as if every step echoes through eternity, because it does. You are not just fulfilling destiny, you are enforcing heaven's decision. Your life has become a collision point between what has been and what must now be. You are heaven's reply to a generational cry. What has tried to chase you will now fall behind you. What intimidated you will now respond to your command. You are not beneath, you are ahead. Not because of ego, but because of alignment. Every delay was a setup. Every setback was a recalibration. And now, the path is clear. No more hiding. No more silence. No more self-doubt. What you carry is too weighty for small thinking, too sacred for shallow living. You are not just here to experience freedom. You are here to establish it. And yes, some will question it. Some will resist it. But the oil is not on them. It's on you. Don't ask others to validate what they were never called to carry. They didn't bleed for this. You did. And heaven saw every drop. Psalm 18:36 says, "You provide a broad path for my feet, so that my ankles do not give way. You will not fall. You will not fail. Your steps are secured. Your stance is sustained. Walk with that confidence. You are no longer waiting on permission. You've been given access. And with that access comes responsibility to build, to speak, to move in divine rhythm. No more checking the temperature of the room before releasing the sound you carry. You are the thermostat now. This is more than a season. It's a shift, a spiritual handoff. Heaven is no longer just speaking to you, it's speaking through you. You are not just chosen, you are now functioning as the chosen. So, go. Not aimlessly, but as one who knows. Not timidly, but as one who's seen. The kingdom of darkness has taken its last shot. Now it's your turn. You won't need to prove anything, your fruit will speak. Your presence will announce what your mouth hasn't said yet. You are commissioned, crowned, and confirmed. This is the hour. This is the role. This is the mantle. Now walk in it. Chosen one. If these words stirred something deep in your spirit, good. That stirring is your confirmation. That restlessness you feel, that's not anxiety. That's activation. You've been awakened, not just to feel better, but to walk bolder. What you've just received isn't a motivational speech. It's a divine charge, a release, a spiritual ignition. And now, it's your move. Don't let this moment slip away. The anointing is fresh. The assignment is clear. Walk in it. Stand in it. Speak from it. And if this message touched you, don't keep it to yourself. Let it multiply. Someone else is one word away from their wake-up call. Your share might be their signal. Comment below. I will obey. Let it be a written declaration to heaven and a statement of defiance to every force that hoped you'd stay silent. If you haven't yet, subscribe to stay aligned with what heaven is pouring out. This isn't a one-time word, it's a divine rhythm, a flow. And staying connected keeps your spirit ready for the next wave. And if you feel led, sow into the assignment. Every act of faith, every offering, every seed helps take this fire to places still covered in silence. You're not just supporting content, you're fueling callings. Heaven chose you for this moment. Walk forward, knowing you're not random, you're not replaceable, you are the one. And your role, it just went live.